We had about 10.5 feet. It's gone down some now. The concern is we're waiting to see what happens with the tide at about 1 o'clock.
Well, we know that I've just gotten an update that this storm is now moving. Forward progress is up to 6 miles an hour. As slow as that is, it's half again as fast as it was an hour ago. So it's on the move, but it still looks like you're going to get rain and heavy winds, Mr. Mayor, for the better part of half a day here.
We got out this morning and took a look and decided to do a 24-hour curfew because we have so many trees and limbs down. And the concern is that with the 10.5 feet of water coupled with 20 to 40 inches of rain, that the ground is so saturated that other trees are going to blow over. And we have power lines already down, and we are still trying to rescue about 150 residents that did not evacuate, and we are now going in with water rescues to get these folks to a shelter.
The Mayor Dana Outlaw, who is on the phone with us, the mayor of New Bern, North Carolina, where more than 200 people have already been rescued. Mr. Mayor, it's my understanding from local reports that many of these residents have had to seek higher areas, and that means some are in their attics and some are on their roofs. Is that right?
That's correct. I actually talked with a lady last night. Her mother was in an attic, and we could not get to the residence by vehicle, and so we have rescued her now. The lady texted me and let me know that her mother has been rescued. But we've actually had some situations this morning to where now that folks have realized they should have evacuated, they call 911. We've had over 1,200 calls in 12 hours. They call, and then when the water goes down a little bit, they're like, well, it's going to be all right. And they cancel the 911, and we don't know what the hurricane's going to do.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've got a town of 30,000 people, and that many people stayed behind. My understanding is the Cajun Navy's down there and a lot of volunteers. What do you know?
Oh, they are great. I got a chance to meet some of them. This is not a time to be a riverboat gambler. Get an evacuation. Get in a shelter or go west of I-95 and get out of this storm. I mean, people's lives is much more important than whether or not they take time to evacuate.
Since Hurricane Katrina and the horror show that it was, witnessing so many people who very sadly died in their attics because the water rose so far and they didn't have a way out, the first thing you tell people is if you have to end up in your attic, you got to cut a hole in it so you have a way to get out of there. You don't know if people who are trapped with water up in their attics do you. It's not that high, right?
I don't think we have any more of those anomalies. I think that we have been able to reach that particular case. There are other ones where people have gotten on the roof. We went out yesterday. We've been working this thing for 48 hours. We had plenty of window time. We took a fire truck out with a public address. We took a National Guard truck behind it. We took 2 New Bern recreation buses. Some of the aldermen actually got out and physically knocked on doors. And we've done everything from Twitter to Facebook to media, everything to get the message out. This was a Category 4, but the storm surge of 10.5 feet has really been the damaging part. We have about 300 commercial buildings that have been damaged. We have about 4,200 homes that have been damaged at this point.
How many again?
4,200 homes that we know are probably damaged, and about 300 commercial improvements. We had somebody that pulled up and got under a canopy of a commercial building for a few minutes, got in the car, left, came back by about 10 minutes later, and the whole canopy had collapsed. So again, this is dangerous time in New Bern. Power lines are down; they might be energized. We have 22,000 customers. We have only 300 that have power right now. Give the city a chance to get these roads cleared, and as soon as these winds subside, let's get our power crews in where they're out of harm's way. We can get those lines back up, get that power restored, get this city cleaned up, and be doing business, because we are one of the most popular cities in the United States of America. We're rated in every magazine you read. Everybody wants to come to New Bern, so come see us.
Mr. Mayor, on the west bank of the Neuse River, right off the Atlantic Ocean, you've experienced storms and plenty of them over time. Have you ever seen it quite like this?
No, sir, I have not. But what's happened in New Bern is that there's a certain complacency that for about 30 years there have not been any major hurricanes. Irene, a couple of years ago, got 7 to 8 feet of water. This one was 3 feet higher. And so, you know, I think people just have gotten somewhat comfortable with the fact that we do have hurricanes come in. They stay for a half an hour as far as the storm surge. We get some 40-mile-an-hour winds or something, and they're gone. And it gets you feeling a little comfortable that you can deal with it. But when all these Euro models and everything else are telling you that you've got the potential of a Category 4 or 5 on top of 20 to 40 inches of rain, it's time to hit the road.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I hope for all their sakes that a lot of people are able to be rescued, and I'm guessing they won't take it lightly again. That's been my experience after living through it. Mayor Dana Outlaw of the town of New Bern, population 30,000 or so along the Neuse River in North Carolina. We sure do appreciate it. These live pictures coming to us from New Bern, multiple live pictures as you can see here, and the water just keeps coming. You know, that initial storm surge is the 10 feet he was talking about, and then along the coast, New Bern isn't on the coast, it's up the river, but along the coast they also had about 15-foot waves on top of that. So I see a lot of you on Facebook and Twitter saying, oh, it's only a Category 1, but it was a Category 4 not long ago, and the meteorologist told us the energy that came with that Cat 4 is still there. The storm surge from that Cat 4 is still there. All of that water has come to shore, and it will continue to come to shore for hours and days on end. The Fox Business Network's Christina Partsenevelis is live, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
The Trent River, which feeds right off the Neuse River, rose so high in that short amount of time that I was unable to get out of here and had to stay the night.
Amazing how fast it can come up, isn't it?
It was at one point coming up about an inch every 5 minutes in the garage of the turn.
Man, that'll scare you to death because you just don't know when it's going to end.
Yeah. Luckily, it did not get in the house here. It got in the garage. The whole house was totally surrounded by the Trent River, and it was something. Like I said, from what I understand, the storm surge here in New Bern is going to be record-breaking. It will be, from what I understand, the worst ever in recorded history for New Bern.
Well, it sure is looking like it. I'm so glad you and all your neighbors are safe today, though. It sounds like the worst is over for y'all. Walt Creighton, who's live with us in New Bern, where he rode out the storm and lived to tell about it. Lots of serious news going on everywhere, and finally I've got something worth hearing. Just from the Hurricane Center later, but for now we'll trust the locals, saying they got 9 to 10 feet. And you can see, this is, can we hear this? Oh, you never know. They might be having private conversations, but they're pulling along in a neighborhood, clearly. This is not supposed to be underwater, but they're trying to give the cameras a look in New Bern. This is a town of about 6,000 people, just inland off the Carolina coast. And I'm sure they had hoped that there wouldn't be a lot of flooding, though they knew there'd be some. People in this river community, it's right on the west bank of the river there, they realize they're in somewhat of a floodplain, but the people who'd lived there for years and years tell us they never expected to see anything like this. Of course, the weather people had said the ones who get it the worst will get 9 to 13 feet of storm surge and winds and waves that could batter for 12 to 24 hours, and the National Weather Service says 15 inches of rain in parts of North Carolina. It says at the bottom of your screen. That's what the National Weather Service says, but the U.S. Geological Survey says they've gotten up to 40 inches in some areas. Granted, isolated areas. These numbers are more like the norm across the state. 15 inches, though, that's a lot of rain in 2 days. The Fox Business Network's Christina Partsenevelis is in Myrtle Beach, where I think
air pollution. I don't know if you can see it or not, but air pollution. Pretty bad air pollution. I don't know if the camera's going to pick up on it, but you can see the haze over the sky, and I have almost diarrhea. So apparently they're able to put the yeast germ in maybe gasoline or something. I don't know, and they found another way to get toxins into the air, or their contaminants into the air to cause sickness in the population. Look at that air pollution. I got lots of gas and farting. I'm doing some mending. This shirt, the hem is falling apart, so I'm mending it. I just put in the gray thread, and I'm finishing the edge so it doesn't ravel with a zigzag stitch. And then I'm going to go back in and do a top stitch like it was. These are actually my pajamas, but they're falling apart. So. Yeah, you see that? This is falling apart here. So I'm just, this hem, I don't really, they obviously used a serger, and I don't have that. So I'm going to just go ahead, now I'm going to do they had a double stitch there. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I'm going to go ahead and double top stitch here, and then it'll be fixed. I didn't have a serger, so I did the best I could, but this is where the hem was falling off, but I fixed it so it should stay now. See, they used a serger. I can see that by looking at this. So I don't have a serge sewing machine, so I did the best I could. It's not beautiful looking, but it does the job. It's, I had to do it differently. I had to do a zigzag seam finish here, and then I just, it'll work. At least the hem is secure. It's secure now. That's all I care about.
Okay, picking it up here in Wilmington, North Carolina, right at the Intracoastal, and we're in one of these bands. This is about as nasty as it's been. We had some bands like this last night, and then the eye wall this morning, we were not on TV. It was a dark and raucous night at the hotel, and this wind